Picture this: the faint hum of a ceiling fan spinning lazily above me, cutting through the stillness of a house that feels more like a museum than a home. I'm standing at the kitchen counter, the sharp scent of garlic and rosemary clinging to the air, my hands moving on autopilot as I chop vegetables for a dinner that might go uneaten. My name is Haley Bennett, and at 44, I've carved out a life that looks perfect on paper. Married for 18 years to Mark Bennett, a man who, at 47, could charm a room full of skeptics into buying swampland if he called it a resort. He's a real estate developer, the kind who sees potential where others see ruin, turning crumbling relics into polished treasures. And me? I'm the woman behind the curtain, a former graphic designer who traded late-night deadlines for freelance gigs, mostly to support Mark's endless stream of projects. Our marriage, once a wildfire of passion and late-night whispers, has settled into something predictable. Stable, sure. But lately, it's like we're two ships passing in the fog. Mark's been buried in work, his mind always on the next deal, the next blueprint. I've felt less like his wife and more like his project manager, signing off on color schemes and budget sheets instead of stealing quiet moments together. There's a hollow ache in that, a quiet I can't quite name. But 6 months ago, he came home with a spark in his eyes I hadn't seen in years. He'd bought an old school building at auction, a sagging brick giant from the 1950s, tucked away in a sleepy town just outside Pittsburgh. "This is it, Haley," he'd said, his voice brimming with a boyish excitement. "Our shared venture, our new life." He painted a picture of a boutique hotel and event space, a place where we'd breathe life back into forgotten walls. I could almost see it. The old auditorium transformed into a grand hall for weddings, laughter echoing off restored hardwood floors. I threw myself into it, heart first. I spent hours sketching design plans, scouring online marketplaces for vintage light fixtures that would catch the golden glow of a sunset just right. I dreamed of us standing side by side, hosting couples on their big day, our hands brushing as we passed a clipboard or a glass of champagne. It felt like a chance to rebuild more than just a building, like maybe we could rebuild us. But dreams have a way of stalling. The renovation crawled along, plagued by delays and unexpected costs. Mark started spending more time at the site, often staying late into the night, while I stayed home, waiting for a car to pull into the driveway. The silence of those evenings started to weigh on me, heavier each time. Our home doesn't help. It's a modern 2-story place, all clean lines and glass, but it's too big for just the two of us. Empty rooms stretch out like unanswered questions, and I've caught myself wandering through them, feeling like a shadow. So there I was, gripping the steering wheel of my silver SUV a little tighter than necessary, the hum of the engine the only sound breaking the stillness of the rural outskirts just beyond Pittsburgh. The sun was dipping below the horizon, painting the sky in streaks of burnt orange and deep purple, casting long, jagged shadows over the cracked pavement of the narrow road. I could feel a knot of nerves twisting in my stomach, but I told myself it was just the unfamiliarity of it all. Mark usually handled the on-site stuff, barking orders to contractors and smoothing over delays with that effortless charm of his. Me? I was more comfortable behind a desk, tweaking designs or crunching numbers. Stepping into his boots for the evening felt like wearing a costume that didn't quite fit. The old school loomed into view as I rounded the final bend, a hulking 3-story beast of brick and decay that seemed to swallow the last light of day. Boarded-up windows stared down like empty eyes, the peeling paint on the walls flaking off in sickly patches of gray and yellow. A rusted chain-link fence sagged around the property, as if it had given up on keeping anything out or in. I slowed down, my tires crunching on the gravel as I pulled into the overgrown lot near the main entrance. My eyes flicked to the cluster of vehicles parked haphazardly nearby. Pickup trucks and vans, far more than I'd expected for a late evening check-in. A flicker of unease danced up my spine, but I shook it off. Mark had said the crew might still be wrapping up, right? I cut the engine, the sudden silence pressing against my ears, and grabbed my phone and the clipboard with Mark's scribbled notes from the passenger seat. Stepping out into the chilly autumn air, I tugged my jacket closer around me, the sharp bite of the wind carrying a faint scent of damp earth and rust. The school towered over me as I made my way toward the gym entrance, the only part of the building where Mark had said there'd be lights on. My boots crunched on the gravel, each step echoing louder than it should have in the oppressive quiet. There wasn't a single sound, no distant hum of traffic, no chirp of crickets, nothing but the faint whistle of the breeze through the broken fence. I told myself it was just the vibe of an old, abandoned place, the kind of building that held on to echoes of the past. But that prickle of unease kept creeping back, needling at the edges of my thoughts. The gym door came into view, a heavy slab of metal and chipped paint, and I hesitated for just a second before wrapping my fingers around the cold handle. The hinges groaned like they hadn't been touched in years, the sound scraping through the silence as I pushed it open and stepped inside. The air hit me first, thick with the smell of sawdust and mildew, a stale reminder of neglect. Dim industrial work lights hung from the ceiling, casting harsh, uneven pools of yellow across the cavernous space. The old basketball court stretched out before me, its faded lines barely visible under a layer of dust and grime, the echoes of long-gone games swallowed by the emptiness. My heart was already thudding a little faster as I scanned the gym, noticing the group of men gathered near the far wall. They weren't working, not hauling equipment or measuring beams like I'd expected. They just stood there, a dozen or so of them, their silhouettes sharp against the glare of the work lights, watching me with an intensity that made my skin crawl. I tightened my grip on the clipboard, my palms suddenly slick with sweat, and took a hesitant step forward, my boots scuffing against the gritty floor. Then one of them moved. He was taller than the rest, his frame broad and imposing, with a weathered face etched by years of hard living. Graying stubble dusted his jaw, and his eyes, dark, unreadable, locked onto mine with a focus that pinned me in place. He started walking toward me, his work boots thudding against the gym floor with a slow, deliberate rhythm that seemed to match the pounding in my chest. Each step echoed in the vast, hollow space, growing louder, closer, until I could feel the air shift around me. My instincts screamed to run, to bolt back through that heavy metal door and not look back, but my legs refused to obey. They were rooted to the spot, heavy as if cemented to the ground. While my mind raced with questions I couldn't voice, he stopped just inches from me, so close I could smell the sharp tang of sweat and the faint, bitter trace of tobacco clinging to him. My breath hitched as he reached out, his calloused hand brushing a stray strand of hair from my face with a gentleness that didn't match the hardness in his gaze. I flinched at the contact, a shiver running down my spine, but I couldn't pull away. Fear and confusion tangled inside me, holding me captive as his rough fingers lingered just a moment too long. Then he leaned in, his breath hot against my ear, and whispered in a low, gravelly voice, "He knows. He wants you to do this." The words hit me like a shockwave, sending my thoughts spiraling. Who was he? What did he mean by this? My mouth opened, but no sound came out, my voice trapped somewhere deep in my throat. Before I could even try to make sense of it, the other men started moving closer, their heavy footsteps a disjointed chorus on the creaking floor. Their silence broke into murmurs, low and indistinct, like a swarm of bees buzzing just out of reach. My clipboard slipped from my trembling hands, hitting the ground with a sharp clatter that cut through the haze in my mind. Panic surged, hot and suffocating, but there was something else there too, a strange, forbidden pull, a current I couldn't name but couldn't ignore. It tugged at me, drawing me into a moment I didn't understand, a moment I wasn't sure I wanted to escape. What happened next was raw, chaotic, a storm I couldn't control. I betrayed Mark right there on that cold, dusty gym floor, surrounded by 12 strangers whose faces blurred into shadows under the harsh lights. It was a collision of shame and something darker, something exhilarating that I couldn't confess to anyone, not even myself. Their hands were rough, calloused from years of labor, gripping with a force that left no room for hesitation. The old wooden floor groaned beneath us, protesting every movement, while the work lights above cast jagged shadows on the peeling walls, turning the scene into something almost surreal, like a fever dream I couldn't wake from. My senses were overwhelmed. The scrape of fabric, the heat of breath against skin, the metallic taste of fear and something else, something primal, on my tongue. Time lost all meaning, minutes stretching into an eternity as I was caught between disgust and a forbidden thrill that burned through me, leaving me hollow and aching. I don't know how long it lasted, only that I was lost in the tide of it, unable to pull myself back to shore. Then, in a fleeting moment of clarity, my eyes darted toward the doorway, and my heart stopped. There he was, Mark, standing there in the doorway, his silhouette framed by the dim light spilling in from the hallway. His presence hit me like a punch to the gut, stealing the air from my lungs. I couldn't move, couldn't speak, as the weight of his gaze settled over me like a suffocating fog. The men around me seemed to fade into the background, their murmurs dying down, their shadows retreating as if they sensed the storm brewing in the air. And then, just as quickly as they'd appeared, they were gone, slipping away into the dark corners of the gym, vanishing into the shadows of the old school as if they'd never been there at all. All that remained was the echo of their footsteps, a lingering ghost of what had just unfolded. I was alone now, sprawled on the cold, dusty gym floor, my body aching in ways I couldn't begin to untangle. My clothes were a mess, disheveled and out of place, a stark reminder of the chaos I'd been swept into. Every muscle felt heavy, bruised, as if I'd been dragged through a battlefield I hadn't signed up for. My hands trembled as I pushed myself up into a sitting position, the gritty wood beneath me scraping against my palms. I could barely catch my breath, my chest heaving with shallow, uneven gasps. The silence in the gym was deafening now, broken only by the faint hum of the work lights above, flickering like they might give out at any moment. Then I heard it. The slow, deliberate click of polished shoes against the hardwood. My head snapped up, and there he was, Mark, walking toward me with a measured pace that sent a shiver down my spine. He stopped just a few feet away, towering over me, his face unreadable in the harsh light. I searched his eyes for something, anger, disgust, pain, anything that would tell me what he was feeling after witnessing, whatever he'd seen. But there was nothing, just a quiet satisfaction, a calmness that unnerved me more than any outburst could have. His lips parted, and in a voice so steady it chilled me to the bone, he said, "Now I'm free." There was a strange relief in his tone, like a weight had been lifted off his shoulders, a burden he'd been carrying for far too long. Before I could even process the words, he turned on his heel and walked out of the gym, the sound of his footsteps fading into the distance until I was left with nothing but the oppressive quiet. I sat there, trembling, my mind a tangled mess of questions and half-formed thoughts. What did he mean by that? Free from what? From me? From us? Had he planned this whole thing, orchestrated every twisted moment as some sick way to sever ties? My stomach churned at the thought, a bitter mix of guilt and confusion swirling inside me. I couldn't make sense of it, couldn't wrap my head around the coldness in his expression or the finality in his voice. My hands fumbled as I reached for my phone, which had fallen to the floor sometime during the chaos. The screen was cracked, spiderwebbing across the glass, but it still lit up when I pressed the button. That's when I saw it. A text from Mark, sent hours earlier, long before I'd even arrived here. "Meet me at the gym. It's important." The timestamp stared back at me, mocking me with its precision. He'd sent it before he'd even called, before I'd had any reason to suspect tonight would be anything other than a routine check-in. He knew I'd be here. He'd made sure of it. My mind raced as I stumbled to my feet, my legs shaky beneath me, threatening to give out with every step. I needed to get out of this place, away from the suffocating weight of what had happened. The gym felt like a tomb now, every shadow hiding a memory I wasn't ready to face. I made it to my SUV somehow, my hands fumbling with the keys as I slid into the driver's seat. The engine roared to life, a jarring sound in the stillness, and I drove home in a daze, the night blurring past me through the windshield. Streetlights flickered as I woke up to the insistent buzz of my phone rattling against the nightstand, the sound slicing through the heavy silence of the house. My eyes are gritty, swollen from a night of fitful half-sleep, and the bed beside me is cold, untouched. Mark didn't come home last night, didn't even send a message to explain where he was after walking out of that gym with those chilling words echoing in my mind. The house feels like a crypt, every creak of the floorboards and whisper of the wind outside, amplifying the emptiness that settled into my bones. I reach for the phone with a trembling hand, my heart already thudding with a dread I can't name. The screen lights up, revealing a new message. No words, no context, just a video file attached, the thumbnail a grainy still of that cursed gym floor. My stomach twists into a knot so tight I can barely breathe. I know what this is before I even touch it, but some masochistic part of me needs to see, needs to confirm the nightmare I lived through. My thumb hovers over the play button for a moment, hesitation warring with inevitability, before I press down. The video starts, and there it is, every damning second of my unraveling, captured under those harsh, unforgiving work lights. The shadows move across the screen, distorted but unmistakable, a tableau of my shame unfolding in stuttering frames. I can't watch for more than a few seconds before the nausea surges, hot and bitter in my throat. I slam the phone face down on the bed, the muffled sound of the video still playing for a heartbeat before I fumble to stop it completely. But it's too late. Those images are seared into my mind, a permanent scar I can't scrub away. I can't unsee the way I lost myself, the way I let go of everything I thought I was. And worse, I can't ignore the sickening truth that Mark sent this to me. He wanted me to relive it, to drown in the weight of what I did. Why? To punish me? To break me further? Or was this just another calculated move in whatever game he's been playing? I sit there on the edge of the bed, my hands clutching the sheets as if they can anchor me to something solid, something real. But there's nothing to hold on to, just a flood of emotions crashing over me in relentless waves. Shame burns through me first, a scalding heat that starts in my chest and spreads until my skin feels too tight, too small to contain it. I betrayed Mark, betrayed our marriage, in a way that feels irreparable, unforgivable. But then there's confusion, thick and suffocating, wrapping around every thought. Why would he send this? What does he gain from twisting the knife like this? Wasn't seeing it in person enough for him? And beneath it all, buried under layers of guilt and self-loathing, there's a darker realization, one I can barely face even in the privacy of my own mind. There were moments in that gym, amidst the chaos and the wrongness of it all, where I felt alive, a rush I hadn't known in years, a forbidden thrill that ignited something dormant inside me. I hate myself for it, for even acknowledging that flicker of exhilaration, but it's there, gnawing at me, a secret I can't voice, not even to the empty walls around me. Hours pass, though I barely notice the time. I'm still in the same spot, staring at the phone like it's a venomous thing, when a sharp knock at the front door jolts me out of my haze. My legs feel like lead as I shuffle downstairs, each step heavier than the last, my mind still tangled in the aftermath of that video. I open the door to find a courier standing there, a blank expression on his face as he hands me a thick manila envelope. No words, just a quick nod before he turns and walks back to his van. I close the door, the envelope weighing heavy in my hands, my name scrawled across the front in a handwriting I don't recognize. But when I tear it open, my breath catches at the sight of the contents. Weeks have slipped by since that night, each day blurring into the next like a smudged watercolor painting. I've left the house that Mark and I once called ours, the place where I chopped vegetables under the hum of a ceiling fan, dreaming of a life that now feels like a cruel illusion. The divorce papers came and went, finalized without so much as a whisper between us. No arguments, no tearful goodbyes, just a cold, clinical end to 18 years, signed and sealed in silence. Now I'm in a small apartment on the edge of town, a shoebox of a place with beige walls and a view of a cracked parking lot. Unpacking boxes here feels like peeling back layers of a life I don't recognize anymore. I lift out old photo frames, mementos of a happier time, and each one stings like a fresh cut. The silence in this sterile space is suffocating, broken only by the low, constant hum of the refrigerator in the tiny kitchen. It's a sound that's become my unwanted companion, a reminder that I'm alone with my thoughts, with memories I can't escape. I've lost more than just a marriage. Friends I thought I could count on have drifted away, their voices growing distant after whispers of what happened started circulating. I don't even know how the story spread. Did Mark share that damning video, letting it ripple through our social circles like poison? Or did rumors just sprout on their own, fed by half-truths and morbid curiosity? Either way, the result is the same. I'm a pariah now, untouchable, a woman marked by a scandal I can't explain without unraveling myself completely. I quit freelancing too. The designs I once poured my heart into feel meaningless now. My hands tremble too much to hold a stylus, my mind too fractured to focus on color palettes or client deadlines. Instead, I spend my days perched by the apartment's single window, staring out at the gray expanse of asphalt and the occasional stray cat slinking by. My mind keeps circling back to that night in the old school gym, replaying every moment under those harsh work lights, every shadow that danced across the dusty floor. It's a loop I can't break, a haunting that lives in my bones. And here's the brutal, ugly truth I can barely admit, even to myself. Part of me reveled in it. Amidst the chaos, the wrongness, there was a forbidden rush, a wildfire that scorched through me and left ashes of shame in its wake. I felt something awaken, something I didn't know was buried inside me, and it terrifies me to acknowledge it. That thrill, that dark pull, it's a scar I carry, hidden beneath layers of guilt, a secret I'll never speak aloud. It's not just the betrayal of Mark that gnaws at me, it's the betrayal of who I thought I was. How do I live with knowing I found a twisted kind of freedom in a moment that shattered everything? I've tried to bury it, to smother that memory under the weight of my regret, but it keeps clawing its way back to the surface, demanding to be felt. I've reached out to Mark, desperate for some kind of closure, some fragment of understanding. I've left voicemails on his phone, my voice cracking as I beg for answers. Why did he orchestrate that night? Was it revenge for some unspoken grievance? A wound I didn't even know I'd inflicted? Or was it just a calculated way to cut ties, to walk away from our marriage with his hands clean while I drowned in the wreckage? Each message I leave hangs in the void, unanswered, his silence a wall I can't breach. I don't even know where he is now, whether he's still in town or if he's vanished into the next chapter of his life without a backward glance. The not knowing is a different kind of torment, a puzzle with missing pieces I'll never find. I'm left to wonder if I ever really knew him at all, if the man I loved for nearly 2 decades was just a mask hiding something colder, something I couldn't see until it was too late. Yesterday, I did something I hadn't planned. I reached out to an old friend for support. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you. +9 nows.